My name's Andy Reid, and this is the Alchemicast right here on Alchemical Records, where we give musicians from around the world an opportunity to talk about what they've got going on, recent projects, anything in the business world, and maybe some advice for other musicians out there. On this show, we like to tell stories and help musicians tell the stories that they live with and that they, live day to day. Something that I try to encourage is everyone that comes on the show to talk openly and to share a bit about their character and how their personality comes across in their music. I'm a musician. I'm a producer, and I'm also, just someone who's interested in making connections and forming connections around the world. I went to school overseas. I had the ability to play with some really talented musicians from around the world in Thailand and Morocco. And I've found that everyone has the same goal of trying to learn and use music as this common language. So with me on today's show from the band DeSanguashington, I have Velu, the lead singer, who will talk to us about how she wants to open bridges between the Latin community and the rest of the world at large with their fusion of traditional Colombian folk music and rock and pop. You'll hear things ranging from cumbia to vallenato and some rock and roll in between. So without further ado, Velu, you are live on the Alchemicast. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, of course. So I listened to your EP, Viajero. Is that right?
Viajero, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Man,
What did you think of it?
I had to dance for my girlfriend. It just made me want to shake my butt.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Shaking butts is always good. It's a good sign.
Oh, yeah, obviously. What can you tell us about what you've been up to?
Well, COVID happened. So I guess we released our EP last year at the beginning of actually when the whole pandemic started. So that actually allowed us to continue to be in touch with our fans and and everyone who followed us. And that was really the main goal of last year and sort of like this year as well. So we focused on releasing our music and reaching out to the media, working on videos. The last video that we released was sort of a compilation of all our songs. And we all do it by ourselves. So, we have a group of people, which is Danny, Diego, and Richard. They sort of help me to do the creative part of the videos and do the creative part of the promotions. And actually last year, we, along with the music that we released, we also had created this idea of like a monthly live show where we talked about each of the videos that we released. So we decided to release one actually every other month. So that allowed us to like have a connection with our audience in sort of a remote way while we were transitioning into a more of an in-person setting.
And do you feel that making connections comes easy to you?
To me, I would like to say yes. I mean, yeah, for sure. I do miss the in-person though. So that was sort of like a shock, I guess, like not being able to really be in front of like the public itself, like in person. But yeah, I mean, we our band is, like the personality of the band is sort of, like warm, friendly, very down to earth. We like to be like sort of next to the audience and like make sure that they're welcome. Sort of like the mission of the band is create these opportunities for people that are necessarily Latin to experience the music and to get to know a little bit more about the culture.
Yeah, and I feel like your music does a great job of expressing that, with
Thanks.
influences ranging from, like I mentioned Tito Puente as one of my favorite
Right.
musicians,
Yeah.
or maybe modern influences like Rodrigo and Gabriela.
Hmm.
Some of these great Latin artists out there are really trying to focus on some of these motifs and values that are found in traditional music from these Latin American countries.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it was like in Colombia and your transition to the States, and how the band uses the roots of Colombian folk music in the writing process and your music.
Sure. So my transition wasn't actually directly related to music. I just, like happened to have the opportunity of coming to the States, and it was through school and through learning English, and then, things happen. And then here we are. So, like how life is, like in the blink of an eye, you're in one place, and then all of a sudden you realize that, you know,
Just like that.
yeah, just like that.
Hmm.
So, but when you grow up, when like growing up in Colombia, I think like you will hear a lot of people talking to you about how that kind of music and folk music, it's sort of like with you in your life. So when you go to a restaurant, or when you go to like a mom and pop shop, and you're always gonna be listening to that music because it's sort of ingrained in our culture. Um, but I never really imagined myself actually singing that kind of music, because really when you grow up, when you are sort of in your teens, you are mostly listening to rock and pop, which is like it's pretty interesting. The United States influences a lot of like of music in Colombia. However, the past decade, I think, Colombian music has been sort of, I wouldn't say evolved, but transformed um, into different rhythms. So they started to incorporate sounds of rock, sounds of electronic, sounds of pop. And there's nothing that we do, but like when you move here, also you kind of get that, I guess, nostalgia of like not listening to that music, and some people start seeking that. For me, just the opportunity came across. I missed singing, and I was singing like that much at the time. I was just involved with like a group that English pop and rock, and then I had the opportunity to join the band, and then I had also the opportunity to take the lead on organizing the band, and like making sure that we actually had set rehearsals and times, like for to like to discover our sound, to expand, like the artists that we were focusing on, and and I think all of that paid and brought fruition, because now we are Wammie winners for best Latin
Yeah.
band of the of the DMV. So yeah, that's been pretty cool.
Well, so for our listeners out there that might not know, DeSanguashington was a finalist for Best Latin Album and Best World Music album, as well as a winner for Best Latin Band and Artist. Um, Velu, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you feel about that. That must be such an achievement
It's
for you to
it's
finally
been
realize.
pretty it's been pretty amazing to see the growth of the band, because the band started really as a garage project. It was just a bunch of guys meeting in a park and jamming, and I sort of had like a bigger vision about it, and I think like I think talking about it with the guys, they all also saw an opportunity, and they all got excited, and so they were happy to just sort of oblige
Yeah.
my I guess my vision, and sort of go along with it. I remember also when we had the opportunity to play at the Kennedy Center as well. That was pretty huge for
Yeah.
us.
At
It's
the
always pretty huge, right? To like have that honor. So when that was, maybe, I don't know, that was a couple of years now. And I will always remember that show, because that was around December. It was the 26th of December. And I thought, nobody's gonna go. Like, it's the 26th of December, it's the holidays. no one's gonna be there. And the show got packed. Like it was completely packed to the point that people couldn't get in. Like there were people like outside the stage in the Millennium stage.
You gotta love when that
Everyone was
happens.
dancing. Yeah, and I was so surprised. And I'm like, well, I guess there are a lot of people, you know, like in DC for the holidays, because I thought everyone was gonna be out. So that was a really great experience. And since then, you know, like we've had great opportunities to perform, you know, for really important venues and festivals, like, you know, like the Atlas Center. We've had the opportunity to perform at the Howard Theater, and, you know, like as opening acts for some bands from Colombia, H Street, the Columbia Festival of the Arts, playing at the zoo, the Smithsonian Zoo. So it's been such a great ride. And then you know, like, and I guess after that I wanted to see if we could do it, you know, like to see, well, let's make an EP, let's record an EP, and I don't think the Wammie was at that point like a goal. It was just like, let's record an EP and see. And then I was like, well, we have the EP now, let's apply for the Wammie and see. And yeah, and we won. So that was great. And we couldn't have done it without our fans, because, you know, there is a process, right? And at first you're sort of like kind of like a semi-finalist or like something like that, but then you also need the support of your bands, and you have to compete with other artists. And so the fact that they voted for us, and then we advanced to the next, you know, the next, I guess, step, that was really good. So it's like, okay, you know, like at least, you know, like at least a couple of people know who we are, and they voted for us. So that was kind of cool.
What do you think some of the main points of your songwriting process are? It's like, maybe you can walk us through how you guys write a song.
So it sort of depends. I write songs, but so does Richard. Richard is a really good writer. He's a guitarist, and Danny also writes. So it really depends. Like I write without actually like music before, so I just write it as a poem. Richard writes it sort of like, it depends on the mood. Sometimes he writes the melody, and then maybe he adds some music, and so does Danny. Sometimes we get together. So in a lot of the songs we actually get together to so sort of tune the melody, and then tune it down to what lyrics sound better. And so it was a lot of teamwork and collaboration. And then after that, of course, you know, it's so important the percussion, right? Because in our music specifically, like there are so many drums, and there's so many breaks, and you know, like you have one tambor, and you have the caja vallenata, and you have the conga. So that part was also really fun, because, you know, you also can see them be creative and play, like, okay, you know, like we need to have a break here. So it was a lot of collaboration, and it was a team effort. And it was a long process, because it's such a big band, and, you know, like a lot of us have other responsibilities. So it was really hard to find the time to record all of us at the same time. So some of the things we had to record separately. And finally, I was so happy when we were all able to get together. We had the opportunity to record at the American University. So that was nice.
That's cool.
Getting together there. And yeah, so that was, but it took a long time. It took like maybe like 6 or 8 months to actually like find a time to meet all of us there.
Yep. Yeah. And booking studio time can be difficult. So musicians, especially during the pandemic, started using file transfers back and forth, and doing most of things digitally, and working out of remote studios.
You know. I mean, we did that, all of that right before the pandemic. Well, not even right before. I mean, we did that in 2018, beginning of 2019. So it took a while to, you know, like go back and you know, like, oh, you know, we need to record this, or like, how about we add some other voices? And we did work with a friend who helped us produce and mix the album. His name is Rafael Conde. He's a Brazilian musician. He lives also in the DMV. and yeah, and that was the result. So it was a lot of hearts, and it was a lot of us, who we are, like who we are. Like it really adds a little bit of the personality of each of us, really.
Yeah, and I think each one of you brings a different color or texture to the table, especially when you're writing your music and performing it live.
Yes.
And being in the crowd and feeling this vibe that you create, a Latin fusion. How would you describe your sound? It's a mixture of Latin percussion, like you said, timbales or congas or something of that nature, voices and melodies that make you want to sing and sing with the vocalist, right?
So the roots itself of the music are vallenato and cumbia. Those are the main sort of rhythms that we start from, but you're gonna see a lot of other tropical sounds, and we use congas. So you might listen to a little bit of like champeta, or maybe a little bit of merengue or salsa. So everything is like sort of in there, but the main two sounds are gonna be mostly cumbia and vallenato, and of course, like adding the bass and the drums that sort of gives it that mold of like modern feeling, and like that, like need of like like dancing, and like especially the drums, right? Like it brings this energy, like it bubbles up. So I think it's a DMV Colombian sound, I guess.
As a drummer, I love playing Latin grooves and studying, the proper use of a cowbell. How do you fit a cowbell into a song?
Right.
And then, learning these certain patterns and creating these grooves, and learning, how to play percussion alongside another drummer, or how to groove with the bassist. Some of these textures or landscapes that are created with Latin music are really filled with many members of the band singing or bringing a different voice to the table. At this moment in our conversation, I'd like to take a little break and play a segment we call This or That. I'm going to give you some choices, and you just tell me this or that and why you made that choice. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it. We'll start with an easy one. Jazz or disco?
Oh God. I like both of them, but I think right now I'm feeling disco just because of the mood. Yeah.
I mean, no one said disco's dead, right? Like it's very much alive.
Yeah. I love some disco. I really love jazz. I mean, I love how it's so amazing where people can just jam and they can talk to each other and they can just continue. I mean, that is such a skill. But I mean, I really like this. I have to say, yeah.
Okay. Accordion or harmonica?
Oh, that's easy. Accordion. That's super easy. Like no brainer. I mean, that the accordion is the second. I mean, I would even dare to say is the main voice, because without the accordion, there wouldn't be any DeSanguashington. I mean, it's sort of like the brand of the band. So yeah, without doubt, there's the accordion. This accordion specifically is not like the ones that you have, like it looks like the piano. This one is it's a different sort of nomenclature, where like each of the buttons has, I think it's like 2 or 3 keys. And then you have, it's kind of like the harmonica, where you need to have different harmonicas in order to have the different scale. So yeah, but I love the accordion. I mean, I think it's such a joyous instrument.
I don't think I've played much accordion, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Me neither. I don't know how to play it, but I love it.
Yeah. Okay. What about coffee or Red Bull?
I'll go with coffee. I mean, I'm not a great coffee drinker, but yeah, I mean, definitely. If I were to choose between coffee and Red Bull, it will have to be Colombian coffee.
Yeah, no, naturally. I like a
Yeah.
good dark roast in the morning. I like my espresso, and I feel like Red Bull, like too much of it, whether that's like one can or two, but just at the rate you drink it, can give you a little headache. And maybe you don't need the wings at that moment,
I
you
don't. I
know.
think you don't need the wings at that moment. Yeah, I don't. I think the last time I had a Red Bull, gosh, that probably like ages ago. I would say like 20 years ago. I don't know. I mean, yeah. So yeah, coffee
Yeah,
definitely.
coffee is a good choice.
Yeah.
What about lunch with Shakira or dinner with Christina Aguilera?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I'll go with dinner with Christina Aguilera. Sorry, Shakira, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, she sounds a little bit more interesting to me. To me, I mean, I like Shakira. She's an icon, and of course, she's Colombian. But yeah, I would love to. I would love to hear what recommendations does Christina Aguilera have in terms of vocals. So
Okay.
I'll be interested about that.
I mean, they'd both be a little intimidating to sit with, I think. You'd be like, hey, how's it going? And they might be on their phone or like talking to their manager or something,
You
you
never
know.
know. Maybe they might surprise you. Maybe they'll
They're
be
real people too.
super
Yeah.
down to earth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I try not to be intimidated by and like I don't know. I guess like titles to me, like it's never really been something for me to like. To me, like what matters is your character, even if like
Yeah.
what whoever you are. I guess I was raised like like that. Like my parents raised me to like respect or like not be intimidated by anybody, and like like same as like somebody who is like doing your cleaning, somebody who's doing somebody who's the president. So yeah, yeah.
You gotta
But I don't
stand
think I'll be
around.
intimidated. I mean, be like, oh, and if they don't want to talk, all right, bye.
Yeah, and it might be surprising. They might not order, salads or something light. They might be able to get down on some wings or, maybe something a
Yeah,
little heavier. Yeah.
yeah, maybe some French fries
Maybe some French fries. That's
with
right.
some beer. That sounds about right now.
And then I got one more for you. Juanes or Pitbull?
I'll go with Juanes. I mean, yeah, he he has his lyrics are pretty good. He's I mean his newest work is good. But the original, I mean, before he was Juanes, he was actually in a band called Equimosis, and they actually played um heavy rock, like metal, like kind of metal.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
so yeah, so he's transformed himself. But his lyrics have always been sort of poetic, and they've always had a message. So I like that about him. I mean, yeah, I guess Pitbull is good to like go dancing, but one is all the way. Especially like he has a song with Mon Laferte, who is a Chilean artist, and
Hmm.
it's sort of cumbia. So like they collaborated in that song. It's her song, but he's playing with her, and I really like it. I really like that song.
I think he's a very talented artist, Juanes.
Yeah.
And definitely has appeal where he brings in a lot of different influences. The same could be said of Pitbull, but I think he does it in kind of an over the top way that is more about like the aesthetic perhaps,
Yeah.
or some of the images that he's trying to characterize. I would
Yeah.
probably go with Juanes. I think I'm with you on
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that you know about Juanes. I mean, I don't think that many people who are in Colombian or Latino know about Juanes.
So yeah, I have a little experience playing in a Latin metal band, and was lucky
Oh,
enough
cool.
to have a guitarist to explain to me, cumbia music, and some of these grooves that I was starting to pick up on, and how we could apply it to the music we were writing. And bringing in like a conga drum. So as a drummer, I played with an auxiliary conga to my left, and
So cool.
a
I need to
tambourine
check
mount.
that out.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a very cool time. So hey, thank you for playing this or that. That was a fun little
Yeah.
segment we've been testing out, and you did great. I was really interested
Yay.
to hear your answers, and
Yeah. Did I win
really
something?
fascinating. And at this point in our conversation, I'd like to ask you a question that I ask all the other artists on this show. What does it mean to you to be a musician from the DMV? Now, you're from Colombia originally, but you are a musician from the DC area.
Right.
What does it mean to you to be from the DC area? What is the DC area?
I guess to me, the DC area is diversity. However, I would love to see more diversity. And I guess, like one of the goals of the DeSanguashington is to create those bridges and opportunity to, like to connect with other bands that might not necessarily be Latin. And so to me, being a DMV artist is sort of the opportunity to interact with so many different kinds of music and musicians and artists. And I do want to see that reflected more in the venues, right? And sort of the different venues. I mean, we played at venues that, like that provide that platform for Latin bands, but I would love to see that, especially for local bands, to have that opportunity in like in different other venues. So that's sort of like my goal with the DeSanguashington, to create that sort of connection and to sort of explain people that even if you don't understand 100% or like zero of the lyrics, you can still get to it with the feeling. I did it for 20 something years when I didn't understand a word, well, maybe like one or two words of English. And that's sort of what I listened to throughout my childhood and my teenage years, of course, with Spanish music. But it was, and now it's funny, now that I understand English, I listen to that music that I was listening to when I was a kid, and I know it, like I know it, because I was already, like, even though I didn't understand it completely, I sort of picked up on the pronunciation and I was already singing it. So that's kind of cool. And you get to learn a new culture, and you get to know, about a different country. So I think that's also really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like anyone that listens to your music could not only shake their butt, but learn a little bit something about the cultural values that you find important, that you want to bring in your music and bring to the listener in such a way that reflects your passion and the history behind the traditional Colombian music. I hear a lot of melodies and backup vocals. So I can imagine filling a room with people all listening to this sound that makes you want to sing and dance and party the night away.
Yeah, for sure. The main thing is to shake your butt, though. That's the main.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Velu, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time. And, I love talking with you.
Yeah, this was really fun. Really fun. So.
And, as we wrap up our conversation, I'll ask you one last question. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like our listeners at home to know?
Well, I mean, if you want to learn more about the DeSanguashington, you can always find us on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as the DeSanguashington. And of course, you can always check our website, DeSanguashington.com. And we already played our first after COVID gig 2 weeks ago. But on August 12th, we're actually going to be at Yours Truly Hotel in DC. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be a happy hour event, sort of like a Latin vibe. So hope to see you there if you have time.
All right. Well, Velu, thank you so much for coming on the show. You guys heard it here. Be on the lookout for their gig at Yours Truly DC on August 12th. You can check out their EP Viajero on anywhere you can find music. And, we're excited to hear more from you in the months to come. Velu, thank you so much for coming on the show. And my name is Andy Reid. This has been the Alchemicast right here on Alchemical Records. Have a good one, Velu.
Yeah, you too.
te regalo una canción de amor que profesa lo que siento por ti y te prometo estar por siempre aquí. Ay, mi vida, tú eres mi sonreír. Después de tantos años compartir y de tantos momentos de luchar, miro hacia atrás y puedo asegurar no hay nadie más con quien yo quiera estar. Miro hacia atrás y puedo asegurar no hay nadie más con quien yo quiera estar. Y aunque hubo tiempos de amargura, hoy grito al viento muy segura que mi corazón late fuerte. Yo te amo con locura y yo te miro fijamente para no olvidar cómo se siente cuando uno ama de verdad y es parte de tu realidad. Ay, mi vida, cómo te quiero. Ay, mi amor, por ti yo muero, corazón. Eres mi cielo, mi poesía, mi caramelo. Ay, mi vida, cómo te quiero. Ay, mi amor, por ti yo muero, corazón. Eres mi cielo, mi poesía, mi caramelo.
Dicen que el amor no existe, que ya se acabó, que los coffee meets son bagels, Tinder, happen, bumble de otra, qué sé yo. La vida nadie la comprende, solo sabe Dios. Si voy a poder conquistarte, solo sabe Dios. Voy a llevarte para mi playa, vamos a tomar agüita de coco. Regreso al pueblo donde vivimos la vida así.